Friday, September the 2nd edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Of course, the big focus over the next 24 hours is Hermine. And I'll spend a lot of the video talking about that. Plus, we'll take a look at the weather for next week, too. Temperatures this morning, 5 o'clock hours, I cut the video in the 70s in most spots. Winds, not a huge deal yet, but we will see the winds picking up. I'll show you potential winds across the Carolinas coming up in just a moment. All right, so let's get right into it. Tropical update time. And we had Hermine make landfall near St. Marks, Florida, about 1:30 this morning. That is located right about there in the Big Bend region of the Florida Panhandle. And we've seen the system continue to lift northeast. It made landfall as an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. It is now weakened down to a tropical storm as of this recording, with 70-mile-per-hour sustained winds located relatively close to Valdosta, Georgia. Northeast track will continue for Hermine through the eastern Carolinas as we go through today and tonight, and then this could very well meander around the mid-Atlantic coastal areas for quite a while. This could wind up being a big issue with some beach erosion up that way, with just multiple days of onshore flow and increased surf up that way. But let's focus here on the Carolinas. You have tropical storm warnings through tonight, anywhere from South Georgia through the coastal plain of North and South Carolina. You also have some inland wind products. That's a high wind warning there around the Midlands of South Carolina and eastern Georgia, and a wind advisory from southern North Carolina there into parts of South Carolina as well. And that's in effect for later today into tonight. And here's the reason why. These are potential winds from Hermine as it lifts to the northeast. Certainly the highest winds will be the coast, where you don't have the frictional effects of land slowing down the wind, and it's just going across the ocean. And it will be an onshore flow in many spots, so I certainly expect some increased surf and increased sea heights above regular tide levels up and down the coast. And for areas from Georgia through the South Carolina and most of the North Carolina coast, could see winds 40, 50 plus miles per hour. For the North Carolina coast, that would mainly be tonight, anywhere from this afternoon into tonight. Now, for the interior Carolinas, winds not as big of a deal, but for instance, this afternoon and into this evening, we could see winds in the Piedmont 20 to 30 miles per hour times, and with saturated ground, that could be enough to bring down some trees and power lines. Now, let's talk about the rain aspect of the system, and this is still a very tricky deal. There's your flash flood watch from much of South Carolina, Charlotte Metro up to Raleigh. Triad not technically included at this point. And here's the European model and its potential rain amounts it is printing out. I'll show you my overall ideas coming up in just a second, but you can see certainly the eastern Carolina is hardest hit with heaviest rain, and then there'll be a very sharp gradient northwest of there. Here's the rain as I cut the video this morning. Raining very heavily already into southeastern parts of North Carolina. Much of South Carolina seeing light to moderate rain, heavy in the southern part of the state. And again, of course, as you go further south from there, much of the southern half of Georgia feeling the direct impacts of Hermine. Now, a lot of the modeling, as of the time I cut this video over the past couple of hours, has shunted the shield of rain a little further to the east, really showing very little rain north and west of I-85. I'm not ready to completely bite on that scenario just yet. Here's the high-resolution modeling. Now, I think this is probably relatively accurate with this depiction of things through the afternoon into early this evening. Very light rains in the foothills, not much issue there at all. But once you get to roughly Interstate 85, from there, points south and east, you have the potential for multiple inches of rain. Here's what I'm going with. And again, this is a generality. It'll be a really tricky proposition to see where this rainfall gradient sets up. But say I-85 south and east, at least an inch of rain, a good possibility, and then the totals really ramp up as you go further to the east. Now, we're done with Hermine as we get into tomorrow, although the clouds will be kind of stubborn at times and maybe an isolated shower. There's a look at your Saturday highs. Then we're back to full sunshine as we get into Sunday. So let me show you a few other charts here. Here's what's happening in the upper levels. Hermine getting captured by this trough swinging in. Now, it kind of gets absorbed by that trough, and this is all the way out at Tuesday, still meandering around off the mid-Atlantic coast. Here's the Canadian model's representation of things early afternoon, this evening, overnight, daybreak Saturday, and then down the road at the end of the cycle. This is all the way out of the next Saturday. There's that system in the Atlantic we've been talking about for a while. We'll see what happens out of that. Rain totals from the Canadian, and again, a very sharp gradient. For instance, Hickory, about a quarter of an inch, over 3 inches in Charlotte. So it is a tight rainfall gradient rather. Here's the GFS depiction of things. This is this afternoon, this evening, and then overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And just by the way, in case you're wondering in terms of winds, I'll show you the wind product. These are some weather bell charts, by the way. This is this afternoon into tonight, this evening and tonight. And again, the strongest wind in the eastern part of the state and near the coast, but still some gusty winds over the Piedmont. Now, once we get rid of this system, this is tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Probably no chance for rain until maybe a few isolated storms all the way out next Friday. So an extended period of dry weather. Still low humidity as well for Sunday and Monday too, but the temperatures do get back into the 90s. I think Tuesday on 90 plus back in place and getting muggier again later next week. All right, that is it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you for watching. Everybody have a great day and a great weekend, and God bless.